Let me ask you a question. If you go to the ATM right now and you try to pull out 500, but you ain't put but 20 hours in that account all month, what's that machine going to tell you? Insufficient funds. See, most of y'all are mad at life because you keep trying to withdraw a success you haven't deposited yet. You want the big house, you want the respect, you want the win, but you're still using the same 2022 software in a 2026 world. You haven't updated your mind. If you don't develop the man or the woman behind the dream is just a hallucination. Stick around because I'm about to show you how to stop being insufficient and start being unstoppable. God didn't put you here to stay the way you were born. Look at a seed. If a seed stays a seed, it's a failure. It has to crack, it has to get dirty, and it has to grow. If you aren't reading something new, learning a new skill, or sharpening your mind every single day, you aren't living, you're just occupying space. And space is expensive, baby. Don't waste it. You know what grows in a comfort zone? Nothing. You can't get to the mountaintop staying in the valley where it's safe. You got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. You got to be willing to look stupid for a while so you can look like a genius later. Success is a marathon, and you can't run a marathon in flip-flops. You got to train? Check your surroundings. If you're the smartest, most ambitious person in your group, you need a new group. You can't fly with eagles if you're out here scratching with the turkeys. Constant development means constantly auditing who has access to your ears. If they ain't talking about growth, they're talking about decay. Harvey, closer, the jump. Listen to me. Every successful person you see, every single one, had to make a decision. They decided that good enough wasn't enough anymore. You have a gift, but that gift is like a muscle. If you don't work it, it withers away. You got to commit to being 1% better today than you were yesterday. Read the book. Take the course. Wake up an hour earlier. Do the work when nobody is watching so you can enjoy the results when everybody is staring. Your life can change. Your bank account can change. Your family's future can change. But none of that moves until you move. Stop waiting for a sign. You are the sign. Get to work on yourself and watch the world make room for you. Phase 1. Stop withdrawing what you haven't deposited. Listen to me closely, because this is where most people trip up before they even get out of the starting blocks. We live in a world that is obsessed with the S, withdrawal. Everybody wants to walk up to the teller window of life and demand the big check. They want the flashy car, they want the corner office, they want the influence, and they want the peace of mind that comes with having made it. But let me ask you a Steve Harvey question. I say, what have you put in the bank? See, life is an exact science. It is a spiritual and physical ATM. If you walk up to a machine and punch in your code asking for 500, but you only deposited a 20 last week, that machine isn't going to give you a maybe. It isn't going to give you a we'll see. It's going to flash a big, red, embarrassing message across the screen, Insufficient. And that's exactly what's happening to your dreams right now. You're praying for a harvest, but you haven't even bought the seeds yet. You're asking God to open doors, but you haven't developed the character to stay in the room once the door opens. In the economy of success, the currency isn't just money, it's constant development. Every time you read a book that sharpens your craft, you're making a deposit. Every time you stay up an hour late to master a new skill, you're making a deposit. Every time you choose discipline over a party or a mentor over a movie, you are putting success credits into your account. Most people are out here trying to fake it till they make it. They want the image of success without the investment of self. But you can't fake your way into a high-level skill. You can't fake your way into being a leader. If you haven't deposited the hours, the sweat, and the mental growth, the moment life puts you on the big stage, you're going to be found out. You'll be standing there with a fancy suit and an empty account. Fape, why your account is empty? Why haven't you deposited anything lately? Usually it's because we get comfortable. We think that because we graduated school or got a decent job, the depositing phase is over. Let me tell you something. The moment you stop depositing, you start decaying, guys. If you're still relying on what you learned 5 years ago to get you through 2026, you're already broke and you don't even know it. The value of your knowledge is dropping every day. To keep your balance high, you have to be in a state of constant, aggressive self-improvement. You have to be obsessed with the deposit. You have to realize that the withdrawal is the last step, not the first. You cannot harvest what you have not planted. If you want a life that pays out in greatness, you have to invest in a you that is capable of handling greatness. Success is heavy if you haven't developed the muscle. Through constant growth, the weight of success will actually crush you. That's why you see people get famous or get money and then lose it all in a year. They had a big withdrawal, but no foundation of deposits to back it up. So starting today, stop looking at the withdrawal. Stop looking at what other people are getting out of their accounts. Look at your own ledger. What did you do this morning to make yourself more valuable? What did you learn today that you didn't know yesterday? Fill your account first. Build your skills, strengthen your mind. Sharpen your gift, because when you finally do warp to that window of opportunity and you ask for the life you've dreamed of, you want the machine to say, F, transaction approved, sis. Let's talk about that second pillar, and I need you to hear me loud and clear on this. You cannot run a 2026 life on 2010 software. It just doesn't work. You ever try to download a brand new high-definition app on a flip phone from 15 years ago? What happens? The phone gets hot, the screen freezes, and eventually the whole system just shuts down. Why? Because the hardware is outdated and the software can't handle the requirements of the modern world. Well, let me tell you something. A lot of y'all are walking around here with flip phone mindsets, wondering why you can't get smartphone results. You see, the world doesn't care how much you knew yesterday. The world only cares about what you are capable of delivering today. Constant development is the system update for your soul. If you aren't hitting that update button every single morning, you are glitching. You're over here trying to compete with people who are sharpening their tools, learning the new AI, studying the new markets, and mastering the new ways of communication, while you're still sitting there saying, well, this is how we've always done it. That phrase right there, how we've always done it, is the funeral march of a dying dream. Steve Harvey didn't get to where he is by staying the same cousin Steve from the neighborhood. I had to learn how to host. Then I had to learn how to write books. Then I had to learn how to do radio. Then I had to learn how to navigate the digital space. Every single one of those levels required a brand new version of me. I had to delete the old files of doubt and the old ways of thinking to make room for the new capacity. If I had stayed in my 1980s comedy mindset, I'd be a memory right now instead of a brand. What are you doing to update your internal programming? If the last time you read a book was when a teacher forced you to in high school, your software is corrupted. If you aren't listening to podcasts that challenge your perspective or taking courses that make your head hurt a little bit, you're idling in the parking lot of life. Success is a moving target. If you stand still, you miss. You have to be in a state of constant, aggressive mental evolution. You have to look at yourself in the mirror and say that the my that got me here isn't the my that's going to take me there. See, most people are terrified of change. They want the fruit of the future, but they want to keep the roots of the past. But you can't have both. To update your software, you've got to be willing to admit that what you know right now isn't enough. That takes humility. You've got to be willing to be a beginner again. You've got to be willing to sit in the front row and take notes while someone younger, faster, or smarter shows you the ropes. The system update of success isn't a one-time thing. It's a daily requirement. Every night when you go to sleep, you should be asking yourself, is my software better than it was when I woke up? If the answer is no, you just wasted 4 hours of prime processing time. Don't let your mind become an antique. Don't let your skills become relics. Push the button, download the knowledge, install the discipline, because when the big opportunity finally pings your notifications, you better be compatible with the greatness it's asking for. Now, let's get real about this third point, because this is where a lot of y'all are tripping over your own feet. You're out here settling for good enough. You've got a job that pays the bills, a car that starts most of the time, and a life that doesn't hurt too bad. So you've decided to outsource your greatness to comfort. But let me tell you something Steve Harvey had to learn the hard way. Good enough is the enemy of great. It's a sedative. It puts your ambition to sleep while you're still standing up. See, average is a dangerous place to live. If you're average, you're just as close to the bottom as you are to the top. You're standing right in the middle of the pack, and you know what the view is like in the middle of the pack. You're just looking at the back of the person in front of you. You aren't seeing the horizon. You aren't seeing the opportunities, and you sure as heck aren't leading anything. Constant development means you have to wake up every single morning and declare war on average. You have to decide that just getting by is an insult to the Creator who put all that potential inside of you. You think God made you the most complex biological machine on this planet just so you could sit on a couch and watch other people live their dreams on a 60-inch screen. You think you were given a brain capable of infinite creativity just so you could do the bare minimum at a desk from 9 to 5. No, sir. No, ma'am. You were built for excellence. But excellence is a choice you have to make every hour of every day. If you're doing just enough not to get fired, or just enough to keep your spouse from complaining, you are dying on the vine. You are a Ferrari driving 20 miles per hour in a school zone. You've got all that horsepower, but you're scared to push the pedal because you're comfortable with the pace. Listen to me. The gap between good and great isn't a crack in the sidewalk, it's a canyon. And the only way to bridge that canyon is through the relentless pursuit of more. I'm not talking about more money, though that usually follows. I'm talking about more you, more skill, more discipline, more dog in you. You've got to be willing to do the extra rep when your muscles are screaming. You've got to be willing to write the extra page when your brain is tired. You've got to be willing to stay in the office when everyone else is at the happy hour. If you want what they have, you've got to be willing to do what they won't do. Most people won't develop themselves past the point of basic survival. Once they can pay the rent and buy some groceries, they stop growing. They think they've arrived. But let me tell you, there is no arriving in the game of success. There is only evolving. The moment you think you've made it, you've already started your descent. You've got to stay hungry. You've got to keep that year 1 energy when you're in year 10. Kill that good enough attitude before it kills your future. Stop looking for the shortcut and start looking for the long way, because the long way is where the development happens. The long way is where the character is built. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. But it's hard, and that's why the reward is so big. So stop settling for the crumbs of life. Get up, sharpen your tools, and go after the whole meal. Now, I need you to lean in close for this 4th one, because this is the part where most people break. This is the part they don't show you on the Instagram feed with the private jets and the fancy suits. We're talking about the dirt face. See, everybody wants the flower, but nobody wants to be buried in the dirt. Everybody wants the oak tree, but nobody wants to sit in the dark, damp ground and wait for the breakthrough. But I'm telling you right now, if you are going to develop yourself constantly, you have to get real comfortable with being covered in mud. Think about a seed for a minute. A seed is a tiny little thing with a whole lot of potential locked inside of it. But for that potential to mean anything, that seed has to be dropped into the dirt. And once it's in that dirt, 2 things happen. It gets dark and it gets heavy. The dirt is pressing down on it from every single side. If that seed had a mind, it would be down there thinking, "Wait a minute, Steve, it's dark in here. I can't see my way out." It's cold, it's lonely, and I'm being crushed. But what that seed doesn't realize is that the dirt isn't there to bury it. The dirt is there to develop it. See, some of y'all are in a dirt face right now. You're working a job that doesn't appreciate you. You're studying for a degree while working 3 shifts, or you're trying to start a business and every door is slamming in your face. You feel like you're being buried. You feel like life is just piling more and more weight on top of your shoulders. But I'm here to tell you that pressure is the very thing that is forcing your roots to go deep. You can't have a tall tree without deep roots, and you can't get deep roots in a flower pot. You need the dirt. You need the struggle. You need the ugly part of the process. Development isn't pretty. It's messy. It's the late nights when you're crying because you don't know how you're going to pay the bills. It's the moments when your friends are out partying and you're stuck in a room trying to figure out a craft that you aren't even good at yet. That's the dirt. And in that dirt, your character is being formed. Your resilience is being tested. You're learning how to push against the weight. If life didn't put some weight on you, you wouldn't have any muscle to show for it when you finally break through the surface. Most people quit in the dirt. They think because they can't see the sun doesn't exist anymore. They stop growing because it's uncomfortable. But listen to me, the breakthrough only happens after the breakdown of the outer shell. That seed has to literally crack open. It has to be destroyed as a seed to become a plant. You have to let your old, comfortable seed version of yourself die in the dirt so the great version of you can start to grow. Stop complaining about the pressure. Stop crying about the struggle. Start saying, "Thank you, Lord, for the dirt," because the more dirt they pile on you, the more fuel you have to grow. The harder the ground is, the stronger you have to become to break through it. Constant development means understanding that the messy parts of your life are actually the growth parts. You aren't being buried, you're being planted. And if you just keep pushing, if you just keep developing, if you just keep reaching for the light you can't see yet, one day you're going to pop through that soil, and everybody who's going to have to look up to see how high you've climbed. Since we've navigated the dirt, Do you want me to expand on point 5, your circle, to show you how to find the right people to grow with? Now go out now. Listen to me real good on this 5th one, because this right here is the silent killer of more dreams than anything else in the world. You can have the vision, you can have the work ethic, and you can be putting in the dirt time, but if you are surrounded by the wrong people, you are fighting a losing battle. Your circle is your ceiling, period. If you hang around 5 broke people, you are bound to be the 6th. If you hang around 5 people with no ambition, no plan, and no desire to grow, I don't care how much development you're doing on your own, they are going to pull you back down to their level like crabs in a bucket. See, constant development isn't just about what you're putting into your head. It's about who you're letting near your head. You've got to do a friendship audit. You've got to look at the people you spend the most time with and ask yourself a hard Steve Harvey question. Are these people adding to me, or are they subtracting from me? Because let me tell you, there is no such thing as a neutral person. Everybody in your life is either a battery or a drain. They are either charging you up to go get your greatness, or they are sucking the life out of your vision with their realistic, talking their, why are you trying to do all that, attitude. I've seen it 1,000 times. A young man gets a vision to start a business. He starts reading the books. He starts changing his habits, and the first people to mock him aren't his enemies. It's his boys from the block. They start calling him professor or big shot because his growth makes them uncomfortable with their own stagnation. When you start developing yourself, you become a giant mirror that reflects back to everyone else exactly what they aren't doing. And most people don't like what they see in that mirror. So instead of growing with you, they try to break the mirror. They try to talk you out of your dream so they can feel better about staying on the couch. You cannot fly with eagles if you're out here scratching with the turkeys. Turkeys spend all day looking at the ground, complaining about the grain, and gossiping about the other turkeys. Eagles don't have time for that. They're too busy catching the thermal vents and soaring at altitudes where the turkeys can't even breathe. If you want to get to the mountaintop, you need to find some people who have been there, or at least some people who are climbing just as hard as you are. Constant development means you have to be willing to be the small fish in a big pond for a while. You've got to get into rooms where you're the poorest person there. You've got to get into circles where you're the least experienced person in the conversation. Why? Because that's where the growth happens. If you're the smartest person in your circle is too small, you've reached the ceiling, and you're going to start hunching over because there's no room to stand up straight. It's painful to leave people behind. I get it. Some of these people have been with you since elementary school. But you have to understand that everybody is not meant to go where you're going. Some people are just passengers for a specific season of your life. If you try to carry everyone from your past into your future, you're going to run out of gas before you hit the finish line. You owe it to your destiny to protect your environment. Surround yourself with growth junkies. Surround yourself with people who celebrate your wins instead of tolerating them. Surround yourself with people who challenge you to be better, stay later, and dream bigger. Because when your environment matches your ambition, that's when the magic happens. Now that we've cleaned up your circle, do you want me to finish strong with point 6, the gem, to show you how to finally turn all this development into a reality? There in Gino, listen to me, because we've come to the end of the road, And this is the moment of truth. This 6th point is the one that separates the dreamers from the doers, the talkers from the walkers. You've deposited the work. You've updated your software. You've killed the good enough attitude. You've survived the dirt, and you've cleaned up your circle. But none of that, not one bit of it, means a hill of beans if you don't eventually take the acid jump. See, most people spend their entire lives standing on the edge of the cliff of their potential. They've got the parachute on. They've read the manual on how to skydive. They've watched videos of other people flying, and they've even done the stretching exercises. They are developed as heck, but they are still standing on the grass. Why? Because they're waiting for the perfect moment. They're waiting for the wind to be exactly 12 miles per hour out of the southwest. They're waiting for a guarantee that the parachute is going to open the second they pull the cord. Let me tell you something Steve Harvey knows for a fact. Was, the parachute never opens on the grass. You cannot experience the soar if you aren't willing to experience the fall first. Constant development isn't just about gathering information. It's about building the courage to use it. If you spend all your time preparing but never performing, you aren't developing, you're procrastinating, you're using learning as a hiding place because you're scared of what happens when the lights go on and it's finally your turn. When you take that jump into your gift, I'm going to be honest with you, it's terrifying. Your heart is going to be in your throat. People are going to be standing on the edge watching you, waiting for you to hit the rocks. And for a second, it's going to feel like you are hitting the rocks. You're going to get some paper cuts from the wind. You might even lose your hat. But if you have been developing yourself constantly, if you have been putting in those mental deposits, every day you have built a parachute out of your own character. You have to understand that God didn't give you a spirit of fear. He gave you a spirit of power. But that power only activates when you step out into the nothingness. You see, faith isn't believing God can do it. Faith is jumping off the cliff believing He's going to catch you or teach you how to fly before you hit the ground. Every successful person you admire, every billionaire, every icon, every leader, at some point in their life, they had to jump. They had to leave the security of the 9 to 5 or the comfort of the hometown or the safety of the status quo, and they had to bet on themselves, the new you that you've been building through all this development. That person can't exist in your old environment. A butterfly can't stay in the cocoon just because it's cozy. If it stays in there, it dies. It has to break out, and it has to trust those brand new wings. You've been developing your wings through every book you read and every habit you changed. Now it's time to see if they work. Stop waiting for the right time. The right time is a myth. The only time you have is yes, right now. If you wait until you're ready, you'll be waiting in the nursing home. You jump now, and you figure out the details on the way down. You develop the rest of the plan while you're in the air. That's what greatness is. It's the audacity to believe that the work you've put in is enough to sustain you while you reach for the stars. So I'm asking you, are you going to stay on the cliff and talk about what you could have been? Or are you going to take a deep breath, trust the system update you've installed in your mind as jump? Your destiny is waiting for you in the air. Go get it. 2. That's the full 6-point breakdown in that heavy, hitting Steve Harvey style. Would you like me to compile all of these into a single, cohesive master script for a long-form video? What's yours? God bless.